resolve this conflict.
They keep telling us that they want aid.
And this is what's left of it.
Tanks, heavy vehicle.
Why only in America?
People want their country to work.
Just want to drop in a normal life.
Why are these homes empty?
I want you to be honest with people.
That has happened within minutes.
Sky News, the full story first.
This is Sky News. In just a moment, the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. First, though, our top stories. The veteran Labour MP Diane Abbott has angrily accused Sir Keir Starmer of trying to stop her standing in the election. He insists no decision has been made. Israel has warned the war in Gaza could last into next year as Sky News has seen new evidence suggesting a US-made weapon was used in a devastating strike in Rafah. And the jury in the trial of former US President Donald Trump has begun considering its verdict. He denies hiding hush money payments to a porn star. Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the Daily Mirror's associate editor, Kevin Maguire, and the Daily Mail's Whitehall editor, Claire Ellicott. They'll be joining us from now until just before midnight. So let's take a look at what is on some of those front pages. Well, The Guardian leads with Diane Abbott defying Sir Keir Starmer as she promises to remain an MP as long as possible. The Telegraph also focuses on Diane Abbott's rally in her constituency this evening. And Abbott also leads The Eye. The Express, meanwhile, leads with Chancellor Jeremy Hunt warning Labour cannot be trusted with the economy. The Metro hears that junior doctors are being accused of cynically timing their next strike to coincide with the election. According to the Financial Times, as the war in Ukraine continues, NATO is concerned that it only has 5% of the resources it needs to defend Eastern Europe. The Daily Mail leads with an exclusive new report about the Lord Lucan mystery. And The Star has news of North Korean military balloons with a unique filling that I think you can guess from the headline and that I'm too much of a lady to read out loud. And a reminder that by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's papers while you watch us. And we are joined tonight by Kevin Maguire and Claire Ellicott. Thank you both so much for being with us. OK, so let's take a look at, I guess, both The Eye and The Telegraph. But there is one story dominating, and that is, of course, Diane Abbott. She was speaking in her constituency earlier tonight. This is the issue of whether she will be allowed to stand as a Labour candidate. She's saying she will stand. She's saying she will not be intimidated. Kevin, what do you make of what's happened and what impact do you think this has on Labour right now?
I think it's a problem, a growing problem for Keir Starmer and Labour. On the one hand, it takes the oxygen away from what they would like to talk about. Today it was the NHS cutting waiting lists. Tomorrow, I think, antisocial behaviour, rowdy behaviour, tackling that. And the second is it's almost got left and right uniting against Labour, and it looks terrible in control freakery now. If we are to believe what's come out so far, she thought she had a deal whereby the whip would be restored. I don't know why it's taken more than a year to restore it. She made offensive remarks about Jewish people, Irish people and travellers, for which she apologised almost immediately. She went on an anti-Semitism course, so it's not a case of somebody's been accused of a sex crime where you have to investigate a long time. It was quite clear her crime in the draft letter going to the Observer, and she admitted it. But it looked like they were going to give her the whip back. She wouldn't stand, and then she'd retire with dignity. But it leaked to the Times, and now she's saying she'll stand as an independent if they don't let her stand as a candidate. And that Keir Starmer took hours to say she hasn't been blocked. Now, it hasn't been blocked yet. Or will there be a U-turn? Because it's an awful look when she was the first black woman MP, 1987. She's 70 now, not in the best of health, it's got to be said. But there's a feeling, and you saw in that protest, that she's being treated very, very unfairly.
Claire?
Yeah, I mean, Keir Starmer's come out today and said that she hasn't been barred from standing, that no decision has been made. We're a couple of weeks away from an election. You know, they have to decide on the candidates imminently. Yeah. And Diane Abbott doesn't know whether she'll be standing as a Labour MP as of tonight. And that just seems disorganised at the very least. Keir Starmer's obviously led this fight against the Corbynistas, the left-wingers in his party. Jeremy Corbyn is already having to stand as an independent because he's lost the Labour whip. Diane Abbott lost the Labour whip. There are suggestions, as Kevin said, there was some deal done whereby she'd get the Labour whip restored, but that she would kind of stand down with dignity and that would be the end of the matter after she made these offensive comments. But she's clearly come out fighting. She said she won't be intimidated. All of the briefing, I think, because it was briefed to different papers, what exactly the situation was, I think has served this kind of idea that she has been poorly treated. And it's, you know, it's utter chaos for the party.
It's interesting, the phrase, Kevin, before I come to you, let's just look at the front page of the Daily Telegraph, which it's that quote, I will not be intimidated, by Starmer. And she spoke quite passionately when she was at the constituency earlier.
No, absolutely. We don't have from her that there was a deal, which was reneged on and gone public. So there's a little health warning around that. But no, she says now she'll stand as an independent. Now, party leaderships usually hate it when somebody is saying, look, I'm gonna go against you if you don't back me.
Very rarely win, though.
Yeah. Well, there's a big majority in Hackney. You know, she's not entirely popular. There are people who oppose her, but she has a big following, and a lot of Labour figures feel she's being treated unfairly. They're just quoted here, Sadiq Khan in the Telegraph, Jess Phillips. I know Yvette Cooper has before, the Shadow Home Secretary, who'll be out, I think tomorrow, fronting the Labour campaign, has said she hopes she'll be back in. A lot of them think she should be back in, and she's been treated unfairly, and I think it is a problem. If I was advising Starmer, I would say just swallow your pride, rein in your attack dogs, and let us stand if the local party wants
Because, of course, it takes focus away from policy. So let's take a look at the Daily Express front page. The headline, you've buckled, Hunt's win as Labour back down on tax rises. Now, Labour saying they won't raise some taxes, but Claire, tell us what's behind the story.
This is one of those very election campaign stories.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. The Tories have come out and said that they've looked through everything that Labour have said on taxes, and Rachel Reeves has said, the Shadow Chancellor has said, she won't play fast and loose with people's money, that they won't be putting up taxes. But the Tories claim that they've spotted a little kind of trend with Labour not entirely ruling out VAT increases. Now, tonight, there's been a bit of a row. The Tories have said, oh, Labour are going to put up VAT. Labour have come back and said, absolutely, we're not putting out VAT. And then the Tories are like, well, clearly you've changed your policy because we've confronted you about it. So there's this big, huge tax row going on.
Because they specified no income tax rises, national insurance and corporation tax, right?
Yes, and so there's the wording around VAT, because Rachel Reeves has been asked, and Darren Jones, who's also as Treasury Minister, have been asked about whether or not they will increase VAT, and they've given kind of answers that haven't always been taken as definitive. So the Tories claim they've, forced Labour to now go back on their policies.
Raising VAT is a Tory policy. David Cameron and George Osborne put it up from 17.5% to 20%. 12 billion took in straight off 2010. I'm old enough to remember when Margaret Thatcher abolished rates of 8 and 12.5 and put it up to 15%. Labour will put it on private school fees to fund 6,500 extra teachers in the real public schools. But Labour, it's just not in the Labour DNA to put up the rate, really. It's other things they would put up if they were going to. But I actually think Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, to reassure people, has boxed herself in too tightly on so many taxes.
Let's see what the Conservatives are saying. Times, pages 6 and 7. Sunak, I'm confident we will ease the tax burden. So what's he specifying here?
Well, he's just hot air.
Yeah. So he's been out campaigning today, and I think he's given this interview, and I think the message of the interview is that interest rates will fall under a future Tory government. So the idea is that the economy gets better, the Bank of England will continue to cut rates, homeowners will be in a better position when they're remortgaging, and that everything will look better. He's pledged before, he's done 2 national insurance cuts. He said in this interview that he wants to do more, and that he wants to lower the tax burden on working people. So this is his another one of his pledges to the country, that interest rates will fall. But it's quite a strange thing for a former Chancellor to say, obviously, because
it doesn't entirely control them, but the tax burden's gone up to a post-war record of more than 36% under him. And so I think they always try to distract attention from what they've really done by always promising something tomorrow. But if you look at the plan so far, Labour have come up with a few new policy proposals and spending very little, but all of a sudden we're getting £2.5 billion national service from the Conservatives. Pensioners not going to have to pay tax because he's free, given an exemption really from the freezing the personal allowances for everybody else, which is £2 billion they put. So how's he going to cut tax when he's spending so much money?
Yeah.
If he is indeed spending
Another
it.
5 years.
We'll never find out, though, will we? I mean, according to this polls, including the Sky poll tonight, I don't think we're going to find out.
Let's take a look at the front page of the Metro. Now, here's a story that arguably none of the parties wanted. The junior doctors announcing that they're going to hold another 5-day strike, June 27th to July 2nd, so literally 2 days before polling day. Headline there, cynical election doctor strike. Is it cynicism, Kevin?
Well, they can legitimately say that they've not had an offer, so that's why they're going on strike. But it's the biggest headache, I think, for the UK Conservative Party because it's on their watch. Yeah. But it's also a problem Labour would have loved resolved by the Conservatives before they get in, because Wes Street and the Shadow Health Secretary, should Labour win and he becomes the Health Secretary, is going to inherit the problem. He said, I'm not going to pay, I can't pay 35%. Well, it's actually not 35 anymore because it's pay parity, the loss of inflation more than a decade, but they've already had, was it 10, 11% of it? Yeah. So you could bring it down, but nevertheless, he's going to have to try and find a way, because you are not going to reduce waiting lists when you have 40% of doctors going on strike.
Which, of course, was their big announcement today.
Yeah.
Waiting list.
Yeah, but you can't do it unless you resolve this dispute, however you do it.
And Starmer's said that he wants to resolve this, and that Labour will resolve it if they get into government. But, you know, the junior doctors have consistently asked quite a lot of money, and they are one of the few unions that haven't come to an agreement with the government so far. A lot of the other union strikes have been sorted out. And this is the one where they continue to go on strike. And I think they're seen as a far more militant union than a lot of the other unions. And they're asking for a lot of money, and Labour have admitted they can't even pay that much money. But it is very bad to have this during an election campaign when you're campaigning on waiting.
Labour will inherit train strikes, true, with the Auslift train drivers. That's going to be unresolved. That's going to be...
Well, let's finish on what is becoming a tradition in the paper review, a slightly comical picture of Ed Davey. Yesterday he was pulling off a hi-hat into Windermere, and now he's on a bike. Does it work? This is a question for... I mean, you know, I guess the Lib Dems have to try to get the headlines. Do these gimmicky things work, Claire?
I mean, he gets
he's there, we're talking about him.
Is he the man you want to be your Prime Minister? I don't know.
He looks like Frank Spencer. Do you remember that hapless bloke? But it does work if it gets him in. Otherwise, it'd be Lib Dem corner in about 20 words.
And the thing is, name recognition is actually one of the biggest problems for all politicians. No one knows who anyone is apart from the very, very top few.
So we're actually watching him fall off the paddleboard. Just there, that was yesterday.
Chucking himself, I think, fall.
Yes.
I think this was
making a splash.
This was such a mad stunt because they were campaigning about, you know, sewage being pumped into Lake Windermere, and here he is falling in the water.
Well, he clearly hasn't got diarrhea from it if he's on his bike, unless he's taken something, Imodium or another brand, to stop him.
Which takes us back to the Daily Star headline. Anyway, for the moment, thank you both. Stay with us. Coming up, are Taylor Swift fans forcing homeless people out of hotels ahead of her concert in Scotland? We'll discuss that next.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles. We aim to be the best and the most trusted place for news.
I'm Martin Brunt. and I'm Sky's crime correspondent. We take you to the heart of the stories that shape our world.
I'm Helen Ann Smith. I'm Sky's Asia correspondent, and I'm based here in Beijing.
We help you understand the world with us. I'm Neville Lazarus, and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi.
Play Sky News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7.
Now that you're up to date, we can go into a bit more detail.
Things can change incredibly quickly.
Taken by surprise.
Have you ever known a moment like this in British politics before? Yes. Cheers. We'll start with breaking news.
Let's get the latest on the ground.
So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me now, Kevin Maguire and Claire Ellicott. OK, let's go straight to the Times on page 3. Their headline, Swifties, Taylor Swift fans, obviously, push homeless out in rush for cities' hotels. And that's because she's starting her tour, I think first date in Edinburgh. And tell us more about this story, Kevin.
Yeah, with Murrayfield, the rugby ground, going to host 3 gigs, 200,000 people. And the allegation is homeless people are being kicked out of accommodation, so it can be sold on to Swift fans. And they've been sent by Taxicon to Shelter Scotland as far as Aberdeen and Glasgow. And in one case, Newcastle over the border. The council is disputing anybody's been moved out for Swift, but in Edinburgh, apparently, a night's accommodation is averaging £686 because there are so many people going to want to see Swift, who is a huge phenomenon. And there'll be Swifties now about to have a go at us because, of course, anything to do with her you criticise, it just triggers them. She's not doing it directly, but it's happened before this with other people because there's a big pressure for accommodation. I'm afraid homeless and vulnerable people haven't got the cash and the weight, and they're relying on authorities to look after them.
Yeah. The Daily Mail, and this one for you, Claire, revealed the Crown's case against Lord Lucan. In the Mail, you're saying they've unearthed documents after 50 years.
Yeah.
It was a bombshell case as well.
Yeah, it's astonishing. So our associate editor, Stephen Wright, has uncovered the Crown's case that was supposed to form the basis of the murder trial. But of course, this never happened because Lord Lucan was never found after his children's nanny was bludgeoned to death and his wife was violently attacked. I think there was a blood-soaked car that was left, but police don't know what happened to him. You know, it spawned so many conspiracy theories. He went off to live in Goa. I think he was living in people kept seeing him in various places around the world.
Yeah.
But this new document, which has been, it's never been seen before, it's never been revealed before, it shows, it brings up a load of new leads. So there are I think there's a big network of friends who helped to cover up for him. There's loads of new witnesses, there's loads of new information. So I think it's going to form the basis of a series of articles and podcasts about uncovering more of this fascinating case that happened in the 70s, and it's kind of an enduring murder case that's never been solved, and everybody's fascinated
1975.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nanny died, he was going to kill his wife. Did he then jump off the ferry? Has he died since? Is he alive? A facial recognition expert, which the Mirror covered, thought somebody in Australia could be him. We've got a chief reporter, Andy Lyons, on the Mirror, who's fascinated by this case too. And it's got an enduring hold on people because it was high society, a brutal murder, and then what's believed to be the great conspiracy, but by very wealthy mates to help escape justice.
Right. Wow. It's fascinating.
It is.
Yeah. OK. Totally different, a bit of a gear change. Daily Star, front page, let's just bring it up. Third World War.
Oh, you've said it.
And so this is retaliation because from South Korea they sent balloons with like propaganda leaflets, and so the North Koreans retaliated. How did they do that?
Sending drop tons of poop, as they put it. I mean, it's probably better that than a ballistic missile, actually, but it is a bit, seems very schoolboyish.
A little
Kim
bit.
Jong-un.
Looking at the newswires, it says it was rubbish and manure, and not necessarily...
That word you used.
We're going to have to leave it there. Claire, Kevin, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. More at 11 o'clock.